So in this video, I'll try to explain all about SailPoint IIQ task. So the content will be like what is task, why tasks are required, task related objects. Then I will explain task types of task and how to execute task, schedule task, and view task results. Then I will explain like frequently used tasks like aggregation, refresh, perform maintenance task, and run tool task. Then best practices for monitoring and maintaining task in IAQ, troubleshooting steps for task failures, then partitioning, and also I will go through XML representation of task. In SailPoint IAQ, tasks are predefined or custom operation that perform background or administrative actions on IAQ environment. So they are typically batch processes or background jobs that run asynchronously to perform large or repetitive operations such as aggregation, refreshing identities, pruning objects, or running a background or waiting jobs. So technically, tasks is defined by a task definition object in IAQ, which specifies what operation the task performs, what parameter it requires, and how results are handled. So tasks can be run manually by administrator or scheduled to run automatically at a specific intervals, triggered part of workflows or lifecycle events. So basically, why tasks are required? Like tasks are required in IAQ for several key reasons, like automation, like many identity governance processes need to run automatically, such as account aggregation, certification generation, or phase change, and policy evaluation and all. Then for performance, like heavy or time consuming operations are better run as background jobs rather than real time actions. Then for maintenance, so maintenance and housekeeping, like tasks can clean up old data, refresh identities, and perform system optimization. Then scalability, task helps handle large scale data loads such as importing thousands of identities or reconciling multiple sources. And governance, like it helps ensures scheduled audits, reports, policy checks are performed regularly for compliances. And let's see like the objects related to task. So we have task definition, task results, and task schedule. So task definition is a blueprint, basically like it's a configuration object for a task in IAQ. It defines what the task does, how it runs, and what parameter it requires. Like think of it as a template or a metadata for a task. Then we have a task results, represents the output or execution record of a task run. So every time a task runs manually or through a schedule, IAQ generates a corresponding task result objects. Then we have a schedule, like task schedule. Like task schedule defines when and how often a task should run automatically. It is essentially a scheduler configuration that links a task definition to a time-based trigger. So think of it as a cron job equivalent to SailPoint IAQ task. So I will show you the cron expression in IAQ as well. So then we have certain types of tasks in SailPoint IAQ. I have segregated into a different type based on its operation. So the first one will be aggregation and synchronization. So this task collects and synchronizes data from applications and systems into SailPoint IAQ. So the first one will be access history, which gathers objects and queues them to create history events related to identities. So basically it is available after 8.4, and you need a different database for this as well. Then we have account aggregation, so it's heavily used, which helps to scan applications to discover users and entitlements, then correlates them with roles and identities. Then again we have account group aggregation, like aggregates account groups or application objects from for use in group certification or identity certification. Then we have activity aggregation, again collects activity data from applications and links it to IAQ cubes, then enables activity monitoring and policy violation trackings. Then we have alert aggregation and processor, like alert aggregation collects alert data from configured alert collectors for use in generating alert action. Basically we I use this for FAM models. Then again, processes aggregated alerts against defined alert rules and launches the appropriate actions. Using this, you can accomplish using alert processor. Then we have target aggregation, which helps to scans applications for activity targets and aggregates them into IAQ. So then we have application and connector management. We have certain tasks like application builder, IAM application creator, OIM application creator, then IAQ cloud gateway synchronization. So application builder helps to create or updates IAQ application configuration and attribute mappings. Then IAM application creator helps to inspects IBM Tivoli identity manager services and automatically generates application in IAQ. Then we have OIM application creator, inspects Oracle identity manager. Again, we have IAQ cloud gateway synchronization, like synchronize specified objects between IAQ and cloud gateway. Then we have data export and indexing. So this task helps in reporting, analytics, and efficient set of operations. So we have ArcSight data export and data export. So the data export task helps to generate a denormalized data report and export it to an external database table, basically. Then we have effective access indexing and role index refresh. So role index refresh task helps to update role information and builds index for a fast role search. And effective access indexing task helps to build indexes for indirect access path, like nested groups or inherited roles. Then we have role and entitlement management tasks. So these tasks helps manage roles, entitlements, and their relationship. So we have entitlement role generator, like scans entitlements and automatically creates simple roles and associate profiles. Then we have tasks like a role entitlement association. It rebuilds relationship between roles and entitlement after changes. Then we have propagate role changes, like it helps to refresh identities affected by updates to role entitlement. For these things, like you need to enable role propagation as well. And whenever the changes happen on a role, right, like during the build and all, it propagates with identity as well. Like if entitlement it is removed, entitlement provisioning will remove entitlement provisioning will be called and all. So for that, you need to enable role propagation, which is available under global settings. Then we have identity and policy management tasks. These are among the most common operational tasks in IAQ. Like we have identity refresh task and identity request maintenance. With this, again, we have policy scan, like missing managed entitlement scan as well. So but frequently used are like identity refresh task and identity request maintenance task. So identity refresh task again helps to scan applications to ensure IAQ data is accurate and up to date. Let's say if you want to refresh identity attributes or update manager for the users, or update assigned and detected roles, or promote a managed attribute for the users entitlement, or if you want to trigger lifecycle events and all, so you need identity refresh task. Then identity request maintenance task helps to scans completed lifecycle manager access request for cleanup and status updates. Then we have policy scan and missing managed entitlement scan task. Policy scan runs policy check against identities and updates scorecards with any violations found. Then again, we have security and encryptions. The encrypted data synchronization task helps to re-encrypts stored data using a new or a user-defined encryption key. So if you have updated any encryption key, you need to execute this so that it will re-encrypt the stored or available data. Then classification and compliances. So we have file access manager classifications. It's like if you have a SAM model, you can use that. Then again, the important task type is maintenance and utility. So we have a sequential task. So launches a series of tasks sequentially in defined order without manual scheduling dependencies. So when you are configuring a task for your daily thing, right? Let's say if you want to trigger your HR system, then if you want to go for identity refresh task, then again rest of the applications aggregation, right? You can go with sequential task launcher. So within that you need to serially or sequentially add the task. Like first will be HR application aggregation task, then identity refresh task for refreshing the identity attributes without provisioning or processing events. So just to update identity attributes, then you can go with other application aggregation. Like again you can sequentialize it, like account aggregation, then account group aggregation. Like let's say if you want to configure HR application, then identity refresh, then you can go with Active Directory account aggregation, then Active Directory account group aggregation, again LDAP account aggregation, LDAP group account aggregation. So you can sequentially add it. Let's say we have account aggregation task here. So if you are configuring sequential task, so what you can do is you can go with HR aggregation task first, then you can launch identity refresh task. So then again AD aggregation, then you can go with AD group aggregation. So the first one will be account, and second one will be for group aggregation. So you can use like this. Again you can have LDAP for account and LDAP for group. So once this is done, like again you can sequentialize this. Like let's say if you want to configure a daily task, so you can create a daily task like this. So one task contains all these things. You can have aggregation task, means this is again sequential task, first task, second task. You can again create a sequential task for refreshing the identities. So when you configure identity refresh, right, make sure you will have one for identity refresh, so one for refreshing attributes, only attributes and manager status and all. So the next will be processing events. So how you can configure is like these two tasks can be added as another sequential task for identity. Means you can mention like identity refresh sequential task. So one will aggregate the, means first sequential task will aggregate the accounts, like group and accounts. Then again next one will be identity refresh task. Again you can sequentialize, you can add other tasks as well. Like if you want to refresh your work groups, or if you want to synchronize as well, you can have a third task for identity and target app synchronization. This also you can have. Then we have a system maintenance task, so which performs background maintenance operations such as cleaning up some objects like syslogs or some like task results, certifications and all. Then again that perform maintenance task, like a system maintenance task, basically we call it as perform maintenance task. Again you can have two perform maintenance tasks, one to clear or prune the objects, another one is to trigger background events. Then run rule. So if you want to execute a specified rules with defined name, value, input parameters, you can go with run rule as well. So if you want to update bulk users attributes, you can use you can create a rule and you can tag that rule to a task. So how to execute task? So if you want to execute the task, you have to go to setup option, then under that like select task, then you will be having task means task definition. Under that you can select a required task, means there are readily available templates are there, otherwise you can select a new and you can go for any of these task, which I have explained. So let's say if you want to have a simple aggregation task, there will be an option called new. Within that you will have account aggregation. Select that, and there are certain options need to be checked. I will go through that later. So basically, if you want to execute a task, just go to setup and then select the task option. Within that you will have a 3 tab. One is task definition, then schedule and result. And you can also execute a task through IIQ console, like just go to the console, then use command run task and provide the task name, which is already defined in IAQ from UI. Then how to schedule, again setup task schedule. And how to view task results, same thing, again setup task and view the task results. So like under schedule, so you can schedule the jobs, like as I mentioned, if you want to configure a daily task, means if you want to execute any task on sequentially, or if you are in the background, like, or if you want to schedule any task, you can schedule it through task schedule. So basically how it goes is like all the organization prefer to schedule a job of business hours. Like if business starts at 9 a.m, usually like around 2 a.m 3 a.m you can schedule the job, again based on your execution frequency and or like how long it will take. You have to calculate all those things, and you have to plan for scheduling your daily jobs. And again, there is a process, like you can click on schedule, and some tasks can be planned for hourly execution, like hourly, like each hour the task will be executed 5 minutes and daily basis and all. So for that, like you have a cron expression available, means you have to go to debug page and search for task results, and you can use that. Like the cron expression is like is similar to cron job in Linux system. So whenever you schedule any job, so from the UI you will see on what will be the frequency of execution, like hourly or daily, weekly, monthly and all. So based on that, from on debug page you will see this expression, like it will have second, minute, hour, day of month, day of week and year. So the star specifies like all the values, question any values, slash, like slash is used for increment, and comma is for list of values, then hyphen is for range. So for example, you can see here, if you want to execute any task every 4 hours, so it will look like this, like 0 second means you can see the first one will be a second here, the next will be minute, this will be hour, again this will be day of month, it's a day of month, then it's month, and day of week, and it's year. So you can see here, if you want to trigger any job every 4 hours, so this will look like this, means 0/4, 0 seconds, 0 minutes, and every 4 hours, and every day of month, every day of means every month, and again any day of week, and every year. Means basically on each day, every 4 hours the task will be scheduled. And weekdays, so you can see here same thing, but weekdays is like 2 to 4, means Sunday and Saturday will be excluded. Then if you want to trigger every 5 minutes, basically rest of the things you can configure it through UI itself, but if you want to trigger anything within hour, like every 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, you have to go to debug page and you have to modify this tab, like this option. So you can see here second, minute, right, like 0 second every 5 minutes. So if you want to go for every 15 minutes, you have to go with 15. So 0 minutes, hour, every hour, every day, every day of month, then year and all. So basically you have to edit the second field. So everything will have like star, like if you want to go with everything, right, like you can use like this. So every second it will execute. So basically no one will do that. So you have to go with like this, every second, every minute, and every hour, like this. And if you want to specify exact minute, right, like you can do that as well. Like how it goes is every second, like 30 minute, basically, like let's say 18 or like 6:30. Basically, if you want to execute any task at 6:30, it will be 18:30. Again, you can go with other as well, like 0:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30. Every 11:30, the task will be executed. So this is how we can execute and schedule the task and view the results. So basically, there is a option called, like, there is a option available in IIQ called like administrative console. From there also you can view the task execution, how long it is getting executed for auditing purpose or for a troubleshooting purpose. You can use administrative console as well. Let's see some frequently used tasks like aggregation task, refresh task, and perform maintenance task, and run rule task. Like, I'll be highlighting these 3-4 tasks only, because these are the tasks which frequently used in SailPoint IIQ. The first will be aggregation task. We have account aggregation and account group aggregation task. So basically, aggregation task helps to pull accounts entitlement data from connected applications, and it updates the identity warehouse. So like IIQ know what access user has. So you need to run the aggregation task as soon as you onboard any applications to get the users for that onboarded application. And if you want to get a group as well, you can go for account group aggregation as well. So basically, we have two types within aggregation task, that is account aggregation and account group aggregation. And we have certain attributes, like each task which I have explained earlier has some options or attributes within each, or like within the task. So here in aggregation task, like the most used are like a delta aggregation, deleted accounts, promote managed attributes, and partitioning. Again, partitioning is available in most of the tasks. Like you have partitioning in perform maintenance task, refresh task, as well as aggregation task and other task as well. I will explain the partitioning process later. Again, if you want to create a new aggregation task, what you have to do is like go to setup, select for task, then top right you will be having new task, and when you click on new task, you will be having account aggregation task and account group aggregation task. So go for either account aggregation or account group aggregation. When you select account aggregation, you'll be having certain properties like name, description, host, number of runs, average time, and all. So you have to provide a unique name. Then if required, you can go for description as well. In the right, you will be having a previous result action, like what you need to do on previous executed task. Like let's say you trigger AD aggregation once, and for next time, what has to be done, like for the previous result, whether it needs to be deleted or it need to be renamed or not. You can go for that, like rename old and rename new. So you can rename the old one, like the old one will get the counter like AD aggregation 1, and new one will have AD aggregation only. Again, the sequence will increase, like the third time you will have AD aggregation 2, 1, and the new one will be AD aggregation. And if you go for delete, the old one will be or previous executed aggregation task will be deleted. Then if you want to trigger a notification on failures, right, like, or if you want to trigger the notification always, like say if you want to send an email notification after successfully completion of an task, you can go for email task alerts. Then you have to select the email notification option. You'll be having disabled, like disabled in the sense it won't do anything, like it won't send notification if it fails also. Warning, failure, and always will send always, like execution, failures, everything it will send. Then warning, if there is any warning during execution, it will send the email. Failure, again, if there is any failure during execution, it will send. Then emails, you have to specify the email recipient as well. Then there are certain options, account aggregation options. First, foremost, like you have to provide the application to scan Active Directory, let's say Active Directory or any of your HR system. Then there are optional fields like select rule to assign capabilities or perform other processing on new identities, and refresh assigned or detected roles. Then check active policies, like create a link if they can be correlated to existing identities. So this option also can be selected. Let's say you have two identities and you are aggregating a new identity from AD. Means I'll be taking example AD only for now. So you have user 1 and user 2, and let's say this new account is not available in IAQ. So whether you need to create it or you have to ignore that. For that, you need to select this option like only create link if they can be correlated. So if this account means basically you will have some correlation rule, like let's say this user ID is user 1 2 3 and this will be user 1 2 4. So you'll be correlating based on UID, right? Like in the Active Directory you'll have SAM account. So if you want to correlate any account with existing identity cube, right, or any aggregated account to existing identity, you need to have some correlation rule or a UI level correlation option. So for that, like let's say if you want to correlate with based on SAM account of AD, so it will check whether this SAM account is present in IIQ or not. If not, it will create a new identity like with user 3. So this will be created only if the only create link if they can be correlated to an existing identity is there. Otherwise, like it will won't create at all. Basically, like if you unselect this, it will create a new account with user 3. Otherwise, if the SAM account is already there, it will just link with existing one. Then you have a detect, deleted, and enable delta aggregation, these two things. So detect, deleted in the sense, like as I mentioned, like you'll be having another user, let's say user 4. If you have user 4, so what happens is like if account got deleted in Active Directory, this user 4 got deleted. So IAQ will check, and if it is not able to find this user on the target, like IAQ will delete this account. Means if you want to delete the accounts which are not present in target, you have to select detect deleted accounts, and also you have you can specify maximum delete accounts as well. Instead of deleting all the identities, you can specify like maximum amount or account number. Let's say you can provide like 2500 like that, so that if there is any misconfiguration, it won't delete more than 25 or 100 account. And let's say let's discuss what is delta aggregation. It is, so delta aggregation in the sense, so for this first you need to have full aggregation. So you can trigger a delta aggregation only after a full aggregation, otherwise delta aggregation won't help. So first you configure or you onboard the let's say you onboard the Active Directory aggregation into IAQ. Means you'll onboard Active Directory application, then you'll configure Active Directory aggregation task, and then you have to execute full aggregation. Then you'll have like let's say 100 accounts in IAQ, and you don't want to aggregate all the accounts. You don't want to check all the accounts and all. Like instead get only recent modified one. Let's say only like 5-6 accounts or users got modified, like groups, attributes and all. In that case, what you can do is you can go for delta aggregation task. So basically there are certain options like directory sync one. So if you select directory sync one, based on that it will check whether there is a recent modification happened after the previous aggregation task. First aggregation task will be executed, right? After that you can go for delta aggregation. Means only once you need to run aggregation task, like full aggregation task on daily basis. Like on first day only 4-5 users will be aggregated to IAQ or checked in IAQ, and again next day, let's say if you have like if 50 plus users updated on target, then again on those 50 plus or recent modified one will be aggregated to the IAQ. Basically like only aggregate which are updated after previous aggregation or last aggregation. And these are last aggregation and all, like first aggregation, last aggregation will be configured or will be updated or logged in application definition itself. You can go to application object. Within that application object, you will have last aggregation attribute. You can check when it got last aggregated. Then you have a promote manage attribute. When enabled, like any values for entitlements or permission encountered while running, like so let's say if any user has any entitlements and if you want to promote that entitlement to a managed attribute, means if you want to consider those as an entitlement within IAQ, you can select this option so that like other users can request for this. And for this again, within IAQ schema, for application schema, we have to assign managed for those particular attribute. Then partitioning, we'll explain it later. And again, these are the frequently used options. Like again, you have access to be included in task results, like whether you want to or whether the task execution has to show like correlate manually or like create a new identity, or whatever the new identities got created, means only the count will be displayed after execution of the task. Then we have identity refresh task, means the same options will be available for account group as well. You will be having detect delete accounts, delta aggregation, and partitioning as well. So next I will explain identity refresh task. So whenever you are configuring a refresh task, identity refresh task, right, like separate it based on its function. So first one will be after HR or authoritative application aggregation. So have one refresh task immediately after auth app aggregation, means just to refresh identity attributes, so that like whatever the identity mapping you have configured within IAQ will be reflected to the identity attributes. Second task, you can have like once all the aggregation is done, you can go for another identity refresh task. Another identity refresh task you can have. So for that, like you can exclude process events, like don't include process events and refreshing attributes in one task itself. The third task is for processing events. Fourth task you can have for synchronization. So you can go like this, like first task, first identity refresh task after app aggregation, like HR or auth system aggregation, then identity refresh task just to reflect entitlements or like load or have the identity history as snapshot and all you can have in second task, which will help you to refresh identities. Means the first identity refresh task will help you to refresh identity based on HR system aggregation. Means let's say first name, last name, employee number will be aggregated to the IAQ or refreshed to the identity attributes. The next task will help you to refresh based on other application aggregation. Then process events, like processing lifecycle events, joiner, leaver, mover, you can have it on as a third or another separate task. Synchronization in the sense like once like process event and all is triggered, like it will create email, update phone number or some other attributes, and if you want to reflect those attributes to the target, you can go for a synchronization task also. So when you create a new refresh task, right, like you will be having certain options, as I mentioned, like each task will have some options. So the first will be the filtering. So if you want to trigger a refresh for a specific identities, you can go with that. Or if you want to trigger identity refresh task of a certain department or location, you can use filter. So basically, if you want to, let's say, if you want to go for single user aggregation, you can use this multiple, again same thing, you can add or then name like this. Means you can use like this. A single line you can give a name. You have to provide the name here, either like UID or the employee number, however you have configured in IAQ. So you have to provide this, and IAQ will execute identity refresh task for only these two or provided filters only. And let's say if you want to trigger identity refresh for let's say department, double equals, and within quotes you have to give department like development, whatever the department you can have. So IAQ will trigger refresh for all the users whose department is dev. Then you have, as I mentioned, like we have identity refresh attributes option, so which will refresh identity attributes. Refresh in the sense, like in the identity mapping, you will be having source one, right? So the source, let's say for I can say first name. For first name, you'll be having source, like here I'll show you that the mapping. Let's consider it for first name. It will check HR systems first name, and it will update to IAQ's attribute first name. So this will happen when identity like refresh identity attribute is checked. So what IAQ will do is it will go to identity first name attribute, then it will check what sourcing it has done. Like this is like source mapping. It will check like what source mapping is there, and it will refresh the attribute. Means you can have again ED first name as well, and you can have multiple other applications also. It will serially go, like it will check first one, then it will check, like let's say the first name in the HR system is empty, it will go to the next application configure, maybe AD, again next you can have LDAP's first name, so it will check LDAP's first name, and if any of this is configured, or means in any of this application the first name is configured, it will update the IdentityIQ's first name. So then as I mentioned, identity refresh attribute will refresh the identities. Then we have refresh entitlements. IAQ's uses entitlements will be refreshed, and again we have roles as well, like refresh assigned detected roles and promote additional entitlements. So that is like based on identity attributes, means however you are configured, birthright roles, right? Like let's say if you want to assign some roles based on users person type or department or city location and all, so using this option, refresh option, it will assign the roles. It will assign only, it won't provision the entitlements. It will just assign or detect it based on the identity attributes. Means let's say if users department is dev, it will assign the roles if any roles has dev configured in it, means assignment rule is there. And it also have detect also, like based on the profile, means if role 1 has some AD entitlements and user, means after aggregation user has that AD entitlement, it will just detect it. Then provisioning assignment, like once a role is assigned, provisioning assignment will assign the entitlements. Then you have a manager refresh manager status. So again this need to be configured in application as well as mapping also. So IAQ will check its source mapping, and let's say the source mapping is employee number of an identity, and it will check, IAQ will check the assigned employee number for the user, and it will tag the identity if it is present in IAQ. Then synchronize attributes. Synchronize is similar to source mapping, but it will synchronize to the target. Means let's say after lifecycle events, IAQ has created email for the user, and if you have configured a target mapping, and IAQ will reflect those changes on target as well. Then histories, like it will create a snapshots. This will help for future auditing purpose and all. And these can be deleted timely, like after 30 days, year, and all. So if you want to configure those things, you have to do it on global settings. Every refresh will create a new snapshot for the users, like what are the access the user had before triggering this refresh and all. Then process event, like as I mentioned, like IAQ will trigger process or trigger lifecycle events based on the configuration which you have done in lifecycle event. Again, these are the frequently used. Apart from this, you have partitioning, like you can trigger the trigger the identity refresh task in multiple threads. For that, you need to enable the partitioning, and disable deprovisioning of deassigned roles. Again, there are a number of options available. You can check the active policies or previous violations and all. So, but I have highlighted only attributes or options which are regularly used. So, for these 4 which I have mentioned, right, like for synchronization, you need to enable synchronization. So, don't enable synchronize attribute in first three identity refresh tasks. So, for process events, again, select process event, don't select it for these 2. So don't select events for these 2, and don't select synchronizes for these 3. So this is about identity refresh task. Basically, aggregation task will bring identity to IIQ, and means this is aggregation task basically. So refresh task will update identity within IAQ. So you can synchronize also, but basically aggregation is to bring data to IAQ, and refresh is basically update within IAQ itself, like synchronizing within IAQ, and also you can replicate those changes in target as well if you have configured target mapping and all. Then we have a perform maintenance task. So again, perform maintenance task helps you to prune some objects. Basically, it is called as housekeeping because it will prune lots of objects frequently. Like you have identity snapshot, task results, request, provisioning transaction, batch request, syslog, as well as certification. So if you want to prune those like old objects, let's say you have configured a task results pruning. So you have configured task result to delete after every 30 days. The perform maintenance task will do that. Like whenever you triggered a perform maintenance task, it will check whether the task is older than 30 days or not. If it is, it will delete those things. The same goes for all other object as well. So identity snapshot, like during identity refresh task, if you have configured snapshot, right, and it will have some created dates and all, it will check when it is created. And during perform maintenance task, all those things will be checked. Like if the created date is more than what it is configured, it will delete those things. Then archiving and proving certification, it will archive the certification, automatically close the certification, finish the certification, transits the certification phases. Like lots of certification operation will be triggered through perform maintenance task itself. Again, for perform maintenance task, you can have 2 separate perform maintenance, right? So one is for pruning, and another one is for triggering background tasks or background events. Again, for that you need to check some options. For pruning, you can check all those options available for pruning in one task. And for triggering background workflows, you can have it in separate another task. So you can have a perform maintenance task to pruning the objects, and you can have perform maintenance task to trigger the background events. So background event in the sense when lifecycle events or any LCM workflows is triggered from, or any workflow triggered from workflow, right? You'll be having waiting period or backgrounding steps and all. For those things, for certain period, the steps or the workflow will be halted. So and there will be a request objects created for those things, request objects, and a work item called waiting will be created for those things. So if you want to trigger those waiting, means if you want to launch those waiting or pending steps, right? For that, the process background workflow events need to be checked, so that perform maintenance task will check that, and if the waiting period is completed, it will process the workflows. And again, number of background workflows threads, like you can specify the threads 1, 2, 3, like can go for 0 as well. Like it will process the perform maintenance task parallelly, basically. And you have forward inactive users work item as well. Like if any work item has inactive users, it will forward it to respective assign or required users also. Means this can be again configured in global setting work item tab. So this is about perform maintenance task. Again, perform maintenance task can be scheduled every 5 minutes. Basically, that's how organization go. Every 5 minutes, perform maintenance task will be triggered. So one is to clear the objects, and another is to launch background events. So you can trigger any lifecycle events or LCM workflows, and you can go to a work item. You can go to work item and check or search with waiting option. Okay, waiting and or background option. So you can check for these things. So what happens is, like, you'll see some options or objects there, so that it will be waiting for certain time. For lifecycle events, you'll be having waiting objects, so that it will be waiting for certain time, like 5-10 minutes, just for some actions. Let's say you have created some AD object to replicate or synchronize with other DCs, right? You have to wait for 10, means you have to create a step to wait for certain time to process other tasks, like creating email box and all. And again, in lifecycle, in LCM workflows, once approval item is generated, or once IIQ creates identity request to create approval items and all, you can have a wait period. Means usually in the workflow, you will have a wait attribute. Means you can specify 1 to like any number you want. So 1 is basically one perform maintenance task, 1 minute basically. Then you have a run rule task. Run rule task is basically to run any rule, any standalone rule. You can create a rule, and you can trigger those rule through a task also. Means you can specify some parameters within inputs. Let's say if you want to trigger a rule to update some identity attributes, and you can specify the path in the task itself. Means you have a signature, input and return, what it needs to return and what inputs you are providing to the task, and it can be collected in the rule itself. Means you have to specify a rule name in the task, and rule will be executed. It will check the input values, and it will return the required values as well. So these are the frequently used tasks within IAQ. Like I have explained: aggregation, perform maintenance task, refresh task, and run rule task. Again, other tasks like sequential task or some indexing task and all is there, but these are heavily used within IAQ. So we have some best practices for task handling or maintaining, right? Like we have we can avoid running heavy tasks like aggregation during peak hours. So basically, when you are executing any of your aggregation task or like heavy task, like if it takes more than hour, right? Like schedule those things like off business hour. Don't execute in peak hours because there will be other workflow task or other task running parallelly. Then execute or schedule in sequence. So schedule dependent task in proper sequence. Like as I mentioned, like have aggregation task means HR aggregation task first. Basically, like this should be your first task on a daily basis. Then second will be refresh task without processing events. Then 3, 4 will be aggregation, like other target application, other target aggregation task. Then once everything is done, go for a refresh task with attributes, then with events. So first will be this, second will be this. This is how you need to set up the things. Then regularly monitor task results. Make sure if there are any long running tasks or not, like why it is failing and all those things. You can go to, like you can do through logs or go to the results and frequently check the long running task. Parameterized custom task for flexibility and reusability. Like if you are having any custom rule task, you can have parameters for it. Like periodically purge old task results. So don't keep a task more than 2 months and all. So if it's not required, like if you are not having any audits and all, you can delete task results on timely basis. And here are some troubleshooting steps as well. So when task fails in IAQ, like aggregation task, refresh task, or perform maintenance task, or let's say if it got stuck, and you need to do some troubleshooting steps. The failure can originate from configuration issues, data problems, connectivity, or resource constraint and all. So the goal is to systematically isolate where and why the failure occurred. So first, identify the task. Basically, this will be the first step, right? Like start by pinpointing which task failed and when. Again, navigate to IAQ, set up task, and within the task results, you can check like the task name, the task type, what task it is, like aggregation, refresh or not. Check the launch time and completion time, and check the status and who launched it. Sometimes the one who launched, right, he might not be having required access and all. Like each run a task creates a task results object. This will be the first source of truth. Then review the result, check the result. You'll be having errors there itself, like each task maintains details execution logs as well, and you can review those things. If you want detailed logs, you can have the traces enabled, and you can go to loggers, you can check those things. So common log details says like connection failure, missing configuration attributes, timeout, memory issues, or if it is delimited file, it says like file not means IAQ not found or system not found, a specified file and all. That again, that will be the next step. Check the app configuration and all. So basically, you will see sometimes connection error, like a connection refused. Errors and all, connection refused error, basically this one, and file not found, or maybe a lock error. You'll see, means object might have got locked. And SSL exception means certificate need to be re-imported, or new certificate need to be imported. Connection error. These are the common error regularly we see. And sometimes also like DB error, IAQ DB might have some issues and all. Again, first step, like you have checked the files and you have just review the results and all. The next thing is check the application configuration. So basically we have to go to application configuration, do the test connection first. Whatever be the reason, maybe during the execution of task it might have failed. When you check the connection, like if it is working, that means test connection is working, again you can retry to trigger as well. You can retry the task execution if the test connection is success. Basically what you have to do is you have to check the parameters like host, port, credentials and all. If it is Active Directory, LDAP or any AD based applications, right? You can have your local Apache system or any IDE, LDAP IDE, then have this connection and check whether you able to connect at least with IDE. Then connection type and versions, schema attributes, check the schema attributes, ensure like required fields are exist, and maybe after recent deployment you have removed or misplaced some schema attributes and all. Then check the groups and all, like whether it's correctly placed and all. Sometimes in web service application you have restructured your operations and all, like you have misplaced aggregation sequence. Means usually there will be a sequence in web service application, so if there is a misplace in that, again aggregation might fail. And the connection, basically the most of the times the aggregation fails because of connections failures only. Either the file is not placed, DB connections, Active Directory connections, like IIQ not able to build proper connection with the target system and all. Then analyze the logs. Basically you can go to loggers, you can enable a task specific, like you can create a loggers for a specific task. Means usually how you can do this, like you'll be having, means for enabling loggers, what you can do is you can have a logger dot you can have custom loggers also, like SailPoint error dot name, means this will be the name. You will see this in the loggers, so you have to provide the object name here. The object name might be SailPoint dot object dot task execute. This might be the object, means you have to specify the proper object name here. And the level means the same, logger dot SailPoint error dot level you have to give, maybe debug. So you have to update the loggers, then retry or recreate these issues and all. Then you have resource utilization, that also might happen, like JVM heap utilization, database connection pool, disk space, CPU load and all. Review Tomcat, like you can restart the Tomcat once and you can retry to trigger the task and all, so that might help. And sometimes there might be too many connection pooling, like database connection pooling happen. Again you need to fine tune or tune those things as well. JVM heap utilization, check the CPU utilization, like JVM and CPU utilization, like sometimes due to some corrupt data there might be JVM heap utilization as well. And next thing will be validate dependencies. Again for resource utilization, you might need to connect with, means if you have a separate database team, you might need to connect with database team as well. So what you need to do is you have to trigger the task and ask them to check their log as well. So that also works. Sometimes that will be again the troubleshooting step. Then validating dependencies. So if the task depends on other components, ensure those are all like operational. So for a target task, check the target system availability. Workflow related task, verify workflow rules and approval steps. Email related tasks like SMTP configuration or some custom rules or plugins, validate, they compile and execute successfully. Means if there are some other dependencies for a particular task execution, right, you need to check those dependencies as well. And once you have configured, like for any troubleshooting step, what you need to do is, you like after having the fix, you need to retry and you need to check whether it's executing successfully or not. And how you can terminate a running task. Basically, if you want to terminate any task, you can go to UI and task result, right click and try to terminate it. Again, most of the times it won't terminate. Again, the next option what you can do is, you can go to administrator console. In the task, you can click on cross button. You can try that as well. That also, most of the times it won't work. So the two options which will work is, you have to forcefully terminate the task. That can be done through console. Delete the task results, get the task result name, and go to console and type delete space task results and provide the task result name. So it will delete the task results itself. So again, you can re-trigger the task. And other option is restarting the application. So restarting the application will cancel the task result at all, means altogether. So you can either do deletion of task results, or you can restart the application services. So make sure that if you are restarting the application, you have a proper notification sent to the team, so that like when you restart the application, system will go down at least for a minute. So make sure you take required precautionary measures for it. So I have explained cron expression and also then partitioning. So this is another important concept within task results. So we have, means I have already explained in my previous video that we have three objects called like service definition, server, and request definition. So from debug page, you can see these three objects. So within service definitions, we have means if it is service definition, like we have request object as well as task object. So within that, you'll be having host attribute, right? Like in the host attributes, you can give server name. So that is like you can have server 1, means you can provide the exact host name, server 2, like that. Means whatever the server which you have got through a server object, like that need to be configured in service definition results and service definition request and a task object. Means you will be having request and task object as separate objects. Within that, you will have host attribute. For that or in that host attribute, you have to specify server names. Like server 1 means usually you will be having server names, so you have to specify that name, so that the task will be executed in specified server only. It won't be executing all the configured or available servers. Basically how it goes is like you'll be having UI servers and task servers. Okay, so that is like let's say you have 4 servers, right? And this will be for UI, this will be for UI, and this will be for task, this will be for task. It's all the tasks will be executed in these two server itself, and the UI operations like logging in, submitting request and all will happen on another 2 servers. That has to be configured in service definitions. And in the service definition, you will have host attribute. In the host attribute, you have to specify the servers, means what are the servers you get in the server object, right? The same thing has to be configured there. Then you have a server object. In the server object, you have a parameters or attribute called a max request thread or threads and max task threads. And in request definition, you have max threads. So what is this max threads, max task threads and all? So if you have specified max request threads and max task threads in server object, like let's say you have server 1, within that you have to specify this max request threads and max threads, like let's say to 7, 4 or something like that. Usually it has to be, means if your CPU, if you have 4 CPUs, you can go for 8, means it will be 2x of your CPU. You can go till 8 or you can start from 2 to 8. So basically what these things will do, right? Like as I mentioned, when you enable partitioning in any of your tasks, like refresh task or aggregation task, let's say you have 2 servers now, right? You have 2 task servers, that is server 1 and server 2. So if you have specified task threads either in request definition or server object, means in the server you'll have all the available servers listed there. Within that listed server you have to specify max request threads or max task threads. So if you have configured this will be overridden. Whatever you have provided in request definition will be overridden, but make sure you add it in the request definition itself, so that like no need to specify in each server. So if you have specified a max thread as 7, right? So when you specify it as a 7, so when aggregation task is triggered, like AD aggregation or any HR system aggregation, it will create 7 threads for each. So total you will have 14 threads running parallelly. So for example, let's say if you have 14 users, each will be aggregated parallelly. So if you have 28, each will have 2, each threads will have 2. If you have again 56, you'll be having 4. Means this is how it's configured. Like if you have only one, so all 56 will be executed parallelly like 7 times, like 7 threads. So let me explain it again clearly. So let's say if user has 700 let me go to 4. 140 users means you have 140 users to aggregate. So what IAQ will do is like it will check you have configured 2 server tasks, so it will separate it to 70 and 70. Then you'll see, okay, you have 7 max threads, so it will to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it will have 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 10 threads. It will create 10 threads so that it will help you to execute a task fastly. So it's again consuming, instead of consuming time, so it will help you to execute a multiple task parallelly. So that's why we need to go for a partitioning. So instead of having, means let's say if you have not configured this at all, means it will have 1 threads, means 2 servers, 70 threads it will create. Instead of that, like you can have or it will take 70 times. Instead of executing 70 users, like aggregating, it will take 70 minutes. So it will be minimized to like 7, like 70 by 10 or 70 by 7. So it will execute in 10 minutes only. So that's why partitioning is required. Partitioning is help you to execute any task fastly. So let's say XML representation of task definition, schedule and all. So I have a 2 folder like task definition and task schedule. So all the definition will be available under a task, and the schedule one will be available under a task schedule. So before that, I'll show you request definition and service definition. So inside a service definition, I have 2 objects. One is request and task XML. So here you can see the service definition host is global and name is task. So that is like if you have multiple server, like if you have hosted your IAQ on multiple servers, so you can specify some host. Like let's say if you have 4 servers, so 2 servers you can assign it to task, so that like whenever the task is executed, the task will be executed on that particular server which you have provided here. The same goes for request. So you can also tag some host to request object as well. So all the request objects will be executed on that provided servers. Then comes to request definition. Here I have a couple of request definition. One is like aggregation partitioning. So here max thread I have given 10. This is just an example. I don't have a multiple host servers. So whenever I execute any task, so it might trigger or it might create 10 threads. So here you can see like I have provided 10. You can go for like 2x of your CPU allocation. Same goes for identity refresh. Again, max thread I have added. So I have added 6 here. As I mentioned, like the recommended, like IIQ recommends like 2x of your CPU allocation. So I have 2 objects here. Again, you can have like you'll be seeing like server object as well. Within that, you'll have multiple servers if you have hosted your IIQ on multiple servers. So then let's see a task definition. So I have created a separate folder for aggregation, identity refresh, run rule, and system maintenance. Within aggregation, I have a sample rule like AE app 1. The type will be account aggregation. So the attributes which we need to worry about is like check deleted, enable partitioning, and delta aggregation. Like delta aggregation only if like your connector supports delta aggregation. Then you can use promote managed attributes, like if any user assigned to a group, and if that particular group attribute is tagged as managed in account like application schema. So during aggregation, those attributes will be promoted as managed attribute. Again, if you have tagged entitlement as well, and it will be promoted as like entitlement catalog, and it can be used during certification. And again, auto creation, like auto create application, auto create scope. Like sometimes like you can use aggregation to create application as well. Means for that you need to configure certain things on build map rule and all. I will explain those things in future. But things which you need to worry is like application. What application it needs to aggregate? Then check deleted, like if the account is deleted in target and if it is available in IIQ during aggregation, IIQ will delete that identity or the account from IIQ. Particularly like you will have identity within IIQ. Like during aggregation, identity won't be deleted, but the account tagged to that identity. Let's say you are aggregating like Active Directory application, and user is tagged to that Active Directory application, but in the target, if user is deleted, then if you have checked this check deleted, IQ will delete that Active Directory account from the identity. Then optimize aggregation, you can select. Again, rest of the things if required, if you have a business reason or requirement, you can go for rest of the attributes. This is about like aggregation. Then let's see identity refresh as well. So as I mentioned, so go for multiple identity refresh, like one specifically for triggering events, one for just refreshing the attributes, roles, and entitlements, and one for synchronizing the attributes, and then one immediately after the authority application. So you need to have multiple identity refresh tasks in your environment basically. So here like check policies, correlate entitlements, promote manage attribute, refresh manager status, and refresh score. So these things you can enable. Let me see whether I have identity refresh task here. So here I have all the attributes. This is like the type like template provided by IIQ, means SailPoint IdentityIQ itself. Here you can see filter. If you want to add filter, you can add this filter. Means you can create an attribute and you can add filter to it. Means the same way which I have shown the other in the other example. And there are other attribute as well. Means it has a description also. So process event, let me search for process events. You can see you need to add this process trigger as true if you want to trigger the events. Means all this will be available from UI as well. Just import this file and you can see there are options available. Means what are the attributes which I have explained, right? Like all those things you can check from UI as well, and you can execute after checking those options. Again, I have a perform maintenance task and a run rule task. Basically, perform maintenance task is just to prune the objects. Like I have like prune history, prune request, prune syslogs. All this need to be configured in global settings. Means you need to specify the number of days, so that during a perform maintenance task, if any object, like let's say syslog, if you have provided a 30 days timeline or limit for a syslog to hold in IAQ, so during perform maintenance task, system or the task will check whether there is any syslog which is beyond 30 days. Means those logs will be pruned. The same goes for task results, certification history and all. So you have to specify the limit to store those objects within IAQ. Once it is passed, like during perform maintenance task, those objects will be cleared from IAQ or pruned from IAQ. And there are like process workflow events is true. So again, as I mentioned, you can have two perform maintenance tasks. One is to trigger background jobs, and one is to prune the objects. And again, finishing certification, changing for certification phases and all, you can have in a single perform maintenance task. And just to trigger a background events, you can have one separate perform maintenance task. And same goes for run rule as well. Within run rule, I have a couple of rules. So remove or update user attributes. So the thing what you need to do is you need to specify rule name here, what rule it needs to trigger or execute. Then the signature tag, like you'll be having inputs and returns. Input, like just to specify the input. In the rule, you need to get the input details, and you can build some logic saying, like in this case, like I'm just updating users attribute. It's just an sample example. So I'll be passing the file path, and in the file path I will be providing the list of users, and I'm just iterating through the users, then updating the user attribute. So this is all about XML representation of task definition. Thanks for watching.